Um, so I want to thank you for all of that because it's incredible. And I hadn't had that conversation with you to like, what impact did Circle have on you? So I love hearing that. It's really important for me as the person who's holding Circle to hear these stories too. Um, in other places and in your social media, I know you've shared your own journey with alopecia. Can you just that little nugget that you've shared elsewhere, can you share here
Yeah.
as well?
Okay, so I've had alopecia since I was 7 years old, and it started just quite slowly, little patches and everything, and it progressed to full-blown alopecia. So in the past year or so, I've actually gone to universalis, which means that I don't have eyelashes or eyebrows or like arm hair or anything. And honestly, it was really freaking hard. Yeah, like it was deep and dark and confusing and painful to be in those years of adolescence and young adulthood and dealing with everything, having hair loss on top of it. We didn't have, well, I didn't believe we have the awareness and education that today many people have. But at the same time, I recognize not everyone has that. And you feel really, 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 really alone. The people around you don't know how to deal with it. How are they going to know how to deal with it? And it was really awful. And I went into my young adult life kind of wanting to avoid and resist and not really do anything. And I got out of contact with who I was. And the first part of getting in back to contact was yoga. And I developed my yoga practice, and I was doing yoga at home, and that was very, very good for me. And this is where it ties back into Circle, because I got to a point where I was like, okay, I feel good, I feel grounded, but I haven't been to a yoga class because I'm too scared to take off my wig. And like I felt like, okay, now I have this base inside of me, I want to bring it out to the next level. And that's kind of when I started looking for what options were available, you know. And in a sense, sisterhood was the step, because I could go with my wig on and I could talk about that stuff, right? I didn't know when I got to sisterhood that there was going to be one day where I was going to say, yeah, like I really want to go to, you know, I literally was just talking and I was like, yeah, well, I would like to go to the yoga class that's here afterwards, but I'm nervous because I would have to take off my wig and I haven't done that and I don't want to. And then like Sarah, you were like, well, what would be ideal? What would the ideal situation? And I was like, well, I would just take off my wig just the same way people take off their shoes. And Sarah was like, but why can't you do that? And I was like, oh, I guess I can. And that was, you know, one Thursday. And then the next Thursday, I was like, okay, well, and then all the girls instantly were like, well, let's do it. Let's go. And the next Thursday we went, and, you know, we went after Circle, and we're like ready. And the picture I have is that day because I'm wearing yoga pants. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. And we're walking down the street and I'm like, I'm going to do it, guys. I'm going to take it off. And so I took off my wig and all of the girls were so supportive. And, you know, these are like these amazing women that I never would have gotten in contact with. And going to that yoga class, I didn't like it. I did not like that yoga class. It was not fun. But it made me realize that you actually just can do it. And that was when I became more comfortable with my alopecia. Now my whole life is around the alopecia, and now I'm the person who is inspiring other people, and I'm doing all of that healing for myself, for everyone else. And that was really one of the top pivoting moments in Circle.
And you're a yoga instructor, right? Like you've done the yoga teacher training, you've done all of that that may or may not have happened or not on this timeline if you had that story of like, I can't take off my wig had
Yeah, it
continued,
wouldn't have
right? It's just a
happened.
story.
Yeah, if I had this idea and I wasn't challenged on that, and no one, you know, I feel like you really do need like some type of coach or mentor to challenge you on that, because if a friend says it, you're like, you don't understand. You really need someone to come in and disrupt that. It wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't be in the relationship that I'm in now, which is a beautiful, lovely, amazing relationship that I'm very grateful for. I wouldn't have done my yoga teacher training. I wouldn't have become a yoga teacher. On top of that, I wouldn't have done the next yoga teacher training, and I wouldn't have understanding of the brain and the chemistry and the psychology behind it, I wouldn't be coaching other women to find their own confidence. Like, it wouldn't be this whole full circle without that first step and the people who supported that first step.
Thank you.